What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Battlefield 6, its launch day, its amazing success, some of the projections going forward. I was reading a couple articles, and obviously, it's doing insanely well. I was going to say, well, it might also be projected to be doing insanely well. We'll see, at the end of the day, but as I've said 1,000 times, leading into this, it's really, to me, it's about competition. I mean, I am definitely more of a Battlefield fan than say a Call of Duty fan. And Battlefield really won me over in that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era. But beyond it just being a Battlefield versus COD thing, it's just good to have more competition out there, a game that can push the other game, because to be fair, maybe it's really only these two in this kind of world, right? So to have one be finally able, after years of not, and then also failure, to be able to push COD, that's one thing to say it, by the way, it's another thing to do it. And we've seen from the betas, and obviously people are now playing it. I'm going to be playing it a little bit later as well. People are seemingly very much enjoying it. And then, of course, just the statistics, right? The actual numbers, absolutely unbelievable. So let's talk a little bit about the stats real fast. So starting here, when I'm recording this, it's at 542,000. That is unbelievable. That, I believe, beats, I think that might beat any Call of Duty's record, period. And this is not even the high, right? You go back when I'm recording again, 10 hours ago, 747,440. So, I mean, it's dropped. I'm recording it a little bit later at night. But again, doing absolutely unreal right now, and doing even better, just a couple hours ago. And here's the thing, people were, kind of having fun with it and saying, what would be your final guess? And you guys can let me know in the comments as well, like, what do you think the number will hit? I always say a couple things. Well, number one, a thing to remember, right? This is just Steam. This doesn't include PlayStation, Xbox, just in case people don't know that. Number two, normally these things do not hit their peak until like the weekends. Now, this had the interesting situation where it launched like literally on a Friday, and even some Friday launches tend to be like Thursday night, right? So you kind of have to wait for it to reach its high. This literally did launch midday on Friday, which I actually did not know they were doing like the midday thing. It caught me by surprise. But, that is pretty high. And it's also kind of towards its peak, at least in my opinion. I do think we're going to see tomorrow, and I guess depending on when you guys watch this, so let me say Saturday, okay? Saturday, October 11th. I think that's probably where it hits its peak. It'll probably be maybe like 11, 12 o'clock, noon, my time, midday. And kind of the best time where like players around the world will play, right? Maybe a little bit later for like the European crowd, and then maybe more like midday for like the US type thing. That's kind of when I see this thing reaching its peak, and I'm going to guess like 1.1. I don't want to go super high, and 1.1 might actually be too high, because I could see it maybe hitting 900,000 and stopping there. But I really think it can add. I guess I'll predict, again, like I'll say 1.1. We'll stick there, and we'll see what it actually does. But that's enormous. And then you could say, okay, well, how does it compare? Well, it clears Call of Duty, that's the incredible part, because something that I also said leading in, right? This competition, having a healthy competition. One thing that I said is that, like, I feel it's going to take maybe a little while for the real, like, actual hits to land from Battlefield, to have not just like people online saying it, not just like me saying it, but for the general feel around the world to start to shift from, like, say, Call of Duty to Battlefield. I feel like that kind of takes years. I feel like that takes maybe more than one successful Battlefield game in a row. And that's what I was saying. The thing is, though, I mean, like, Call of Duty has had high numbers. I think it's hit the mid 500,000s back with, like, Warzone 2.0, I think, in 2022. I think one of the newer Black Ops games that hit 350, somewhere in that range. So it's not like those games do pathetically bad. Any game that comes out that can hit 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 concurrently means that it's sold like 4, 5, 6 times that, and that's just on Steam. And Xbox, of course, or Game Pass, is connected to Call of Duty, right? So there's a lot there, but just like this beats it. This in its first day, and I don't even think it's at its peak yet. This got almost 200,000 more than Call of Duty's highest point ever on Steam, period. Now, again, it doesn't include Game Pass, and Game Pass might skew things, maybe historically, but it's also just the last couple of years, but they've added Call of Duty games, so it does, again, make it a little bit messy, but that's the real thing I kind of wanted to highlight, is that comparison, because I'll take the L there, and I like taking the L there, because I did not think the actual competition where, like, can Battlefield outsell COD? I guess that's what I'm dancing around, okay? Can Battlefield legitimately knock COD down and Battlefield's number 1 and COD's number 2? Because I thought it was going to take to the next Battlefield. I thought this one would make them more even, with COD maybe slightly ahead, but then, like, popular opinion's going to, change and go to Battlefield side. But it might take till the next Battlefield or multi-year additions to Battlefield 6 in order to make it, say, like the breadwinner, right, of the shooter genre. It really seems like in the first day, it perhaps did that. So that's awesome. And, obviously it doesn't include PlayStation, doesn't include Xbox. I was reading a couple articles earlier where it talked about sales projections, where I think they, certain analysts, everybody's kind of different. Certain analysts think that it's going to sell, I think, 5 million in the first week. That would be incredible. I saw one article that talked about, I think, EA. Maybe we did talk about this. Like, EA wants it to do like 100 million players, and that is ridiculous. Yeah, you know what? We had to have talked about that. I think that was an older thing that's being brought up again. That has to be helped with Battle Royale, because I think this game can do 15 million units almost with its eyes closed at this point. Maybe eventually sell 20. Maybe that's kind of like the peak here. So 20 million just in sales, by the way, is unreal. And that's making your money back and then some. But to reach 100 million, well, obviously you do the quick math. You need 80 more and 80 million, not just 80. 80 would be kind of achievable, wouldn't it? So, like, where are you going to get that, right? And I mean, like, Battle Royale, that'll attract them. That's where, like, look, I do like numbers. I do like these kind of things. They're fun. I don't base my life off of them. I don't go to bed thinking about these things, but I do like looking at numbers, making videos like this. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, the 100 million thing is just kind of unreal, because they're going to count every single person that ever turns on the Battle Royale mode, right? So you play Battle Royale for 5 minutes and you never touch it, and it's free to play, right? It might even be like a separate thing, so like you don't even have to own Battlefield 6. I don't know this for sure, but this is how you get to 100 million, right? You have a free-to-play Battle Royale thing that's tied to 6, but it's also kind of separate, and if you touch that thing for 5 minutes, you're one of the 100 million people. And, you do that multiple people, it gets very easy, to reach that number. So that's where it kind of gets ridiculous. That's where it gets like, I don't even really care much about or care to even continue on that line of thinking. I care more about, these things are more meaningful, right? Like it doing what it's doing right now. This is not the beta beating COD. People did that a couple months back where it's like, oh, the beta's doing so well, it's got more players. Well, the beta's free, right? You don't need to pay. And that was the thing that I had said, like, wait for the game, because the game you actually have to pay, and that's just going to show it. I'm not saying that that's going to maybe hurt it or anything. I'm just saying let it prove itself, right? When it has to be charged for $70 versus 0, see what the numbers are. Turns out numbers are honestly, I think, better than people thought it was going to be. I feel like that's kind of safe to say. So congratulations. I'll be playing it later, and I'll be playing it for hopefully a very, very long time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.